Why is this issue of animal rights so important to you?
Oh, geez. Well, the stuff I've seen. And the very few people, really, who are campaigning for animals and seeing them so damn helpless, making eye contact with young pigs in a slaughterhouse truck. It just lights a fire inside you. I just need to be doing something every single day. Yeah, it's not about going to a demo or doing something dramatic. It's like, you take a phone call from a service rep, you're telling them about Challenge 22. You go out shopping, you have cards with you, and there's something you can do every single day.
What the hell is up, you guys? My name is Jamie Logan, and today on the podcast, we got one of my all-time favorite activists, Jenny Mcqueen. She is based in Toronto. She is one of the most dedicated, hard-working, selfless people I know. So thank you so much for sitting down with me today.
Thank you. That was really kind of you. Thank you. And right back at you. Oh my God, Jamie, the work that you do, the output, seriously, next level.
I really mean every single word of it. I mean, I feel like it's every other week I'm watching Jenny get dragged off in the field and thrown in, jail for the night. I don't know how you do it. And so today in this podcast, we're going to talk about how you went vegan. This was over 30 years ago, you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, imagine that.
Yeah.
People are complaining that there's not enough options today. And I'm like, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk about how you went vegan, how you got into activism, effective forms of activism, maybe some of the challenges that you face, things and thoughts that go through your head before disruption, and then, of course, how people that are listening could start taking action today for the animals.
Okay.
And we'll see where this goes.
Okay, sounds good.
So, Jenny, why don't you just introduce yourself? Who are you for people that may not know you?
Okay, so I'm a polite British lady who happens to be vegan and happens to have been arrested 10 times now, double digits. And I just tend to say yes when I'm thinking of doing something extreme, and I seem to have been arrested all these times. And I'm totally peaceful.
She's a polite British lady. I love it. No, you are. And you're just somebody that cares about animals.
Right, yes. So living in Canada for the past 25 years now.
Okay.
But yes, came from Liverpool.
Did you have a relationship with animals growing up? What was your childhood like?
It's funny. Rescue dogs. My mother would take us to an animal shelter, and I was the one who luckily was able to pick out, one of the dogs that we gave a home to. And maybe that was an influence.
Yeah.
But, I had no clue about animals generally when I was young. I remember in school that, we would learn about the various cuts of cow, and we'd have a picture of a cow, and you'd have all the dotted lines, and I had no clue. Honestly, nothing, oblivious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting to me that, from there, suddenly something clicked. In my 20s, when I was given a subscription to it was a vegetarian magazine, and I started reading about dairy and egg industries, and I'm like, what the hell? Why didn't I know about this? Why didn't I? So really soon after that, veganism was a thing. But I was resistant initially. I'm like, veganism? Oh my God, that's extreme. Yeah.
Did you know any other vegans at the time? What was that transition like?
No, I didn't. It was like my brother way over in, another part of the country. And then I had friends, and I remember the first time, I was excluding animals, and I'm at a restaurant with friends, and I'm thinking, do I say it now? And then I refused to eat, I think it was duck. You can't even imagine now, can you? And then it's coming out as not eating animals, vegan, vegetarian, whatever I was at the time. But then it was just like, yeah.
And now the UK is so vegan friendly.
So
But that's so amazing. So a lot of us, we make the transition to stop eating animals and their secretions, but then the act of taking action to advocate for them is sometimes some people never do. So what was that transition like for you, going from just being a vegan to becoming an advocate for the animals?
well, I was so lucky because the Vegetarian Society in the UK, the CEO, lived in my neighborhood. Even it was a national organization, and she was animal rights. So she wrote a letter. She got the local member list, and then she wrote a letter about her local, Wirral Animal Rights it was, and it plopped through the letterbox as things used to be. You didn't get an email. You got a letter in the post, and I decided to pluck up the courage and go to her house, and there was a meeting, and that was it. Yeah, so I started from then on. Initially, kind of gentle activism, but then demonstrations, and it kind of grew from there. Your connections would develop, with other activists and with more extreme activism. So
it's so cool because you and your partner Peter, Peaceful Peter, guys, on Instagram, he is also vegan for over 30 years.
Yeah.
Can you talk about meeting him and maybe the importance of finding a vegan partner?
It's really nice to be supported and have the same ethics, be completely on the same page over veganism, animal rights. Yes, we met by chance, but at a vegan conference, and it was in Thailand. We were both part, by that time, of organisations. I was on the board of the Veg Association in the UK, and Peter was on the board, and he was going across to make a presentation to host. It was like the IVU, International Vegetarian Union. And then I was with a delegation too, and we were both there, and we kind of shared a bowl of fruit, and and we connected, and the
rest is history.
Yeah.
Now y'all are out postering with me on the streets of Toronto 30 years later. That's amazing. Well, yeah, I do think that that's super important, and having that support system, because what was the reaction of people around you that knew you before you were vegan? Like, was that challenging for you, the social aspect of things?
It was a little. But the great thing was that as soon as I then became connected to the scene, the animal rights, the vegan scene, then I managed to maintain the friendships. I mean, I still do even now, and it's been really, really interesting. Friends of 30 plus years will send me messages saying, "Hey, look what we made, totally vegan." And another friend, whose daughter, she actually campaigned against Canada Goose coats in the UK, and I'm like, oh my God, there's a little influence with people from many, many years ago. But yeah, once you kind of connect with a different community, then that really helps.
Why is this issue of animal rights so important to you, and why do you fight every day for it?
Oh, geez. Well, the stuff I've seen, even just way back, the first leaflet that really crushed me was seeing bears farmed for their bile. And you just, honestly, the stuff I've seen, and the very few people, really, who are campaigning for animals, the human issues, obviously, yeah, they're devastating. But I don't know, I've kind of connected with animal rights and just campaigning and seeing them so damn helpless in slaughterhouse trucks, like making eye contact with young pigs in a slaughterhouse truck. It just lights a fire inside you. And I just need to be doing something every single day. Like everyday activism was, one of the things I would sometimes present on. Like, what can you do every single day? Yeah, it's not about going to a demo or doing something dramatic. It's like, you take a phone call from a service rep, you're telling them about Challenge 22. You go out shopping, you have cards with you, and there's something you can do every single day, really.
I completely agree with you. And I think that that's the hurdle that some people face, is they think that, oh, that I could never do that type of action. Like, I'm too afraid to do that. And honestly, you work yourself up to certain things. You didn't just bust out onto like an NBA game the first action that you took.
No.
Can you take me back to one of your first high risk actions? Paint the picture. What was going through your head and what happened?
Oh, there's a few to choose from.
Tell us multiple ones.
Well, maybe, one of the early ones was, meet me at the stockyards. That was an action where we sat in front of a cow slaughterhouse, and we met and we trained, and we had non-violent action training and peaceful communication type training. And we sat and we wouldn't move, and we were there for quite a few hours. There was the workers, the slaughterhouse truck tried to back into us, but we still wouldn't move. And then the workers got really angry, and then they're like grabbing us, and then the police are getting involved, and then there's a great big pile of police and slaughterhouse workers kind of grabbing us away, and Joanne MacArthur is there, and she's getting amazing photos of us all. And even in that time, it was one of the main actions. Within, I just felt resolute and centered, and this is the right thing that we're doing. So there wasn't that fear factor for me. It was just, we are here, we are making a difference in that moment, and we're doing the right thing. And I think perhaps that's the thing that's kept me going. We're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
We're on the right side of history. We're making dramatic actions for animals, but sometimes you have to get into for example, the mainstream media. It's difficult, but they're not interested generally in, we did a demonstration, we held some signs. You would hope that they would, but really what you have to, what I found that I'm able to do is, I'll run onto a court of play, or I'll do a dramatic demonstration, disruption, and then that gets mainstream media, which I feel is like spreading the message, in a good way.
It absolutely is. And I think what would be super helpful for people listening is for you to break down maybe what goes into an action and what are things that they must remember. Like when you are about to run out on a stage or a court, what do you have on you? What are things that people should do beforehand?
Right. Yeah.
Walk us through this.
Okay, so I did something recently where I'm running onto the field of play basketball, the Raptors.
Okay.
And it's really essential. You have a banner. You wrap a banner around your body somehow. You make sure that the banner is really going to quickly come out. It's the right way up. You have no animal rights clothing on when you're doing something dramatic because you don't want to be stopped. You look confident. And if you think you're going to be arrested, you have the number of a lawyer written on your arm.
ID.
Yeah, thank you. The police will always be able to find your name. So it's kind of silly thinking that, oh, they won't know who I am. You know, I won't tell them my name. They're always going to find out. So it makes it easier if you have a piece of ID on you, and then straight away, you know, they know who you are. They're confident that they can have you sign some papers and then hopefully, you know, release you. Also, you have some money on you, just a few dollars, so you can get home. Because you're generally taken to if you're taken to a police station, you can spend hours there, and then they just say, okay, bye. And then you're on your own, perhaps in a strange neighborhood. You know, you need a way of getting home. So you take a bit of money, maybe you bring your credit card and a piece of ID, and that's all you need. Yeah.
What about a cell phone? What would you recommend?
Oh, never. Yeah, never. For the Raptors, I did have someone with me, and before I went down, I gave them the cell phone. You don't really want the police to have your cell phone, because if they'll take it as evidence, and then you won't get it back until the, you know, legal proceedings are over. And I've been through that. And then for like 2 years, you've lost your electronics. You basically have to buy something else to tide you through.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So that's a really good checklist to have. And I think the banner is really important, because the main thing is that you want to get the message up and to always face the camera.
Yes.
Wherever it is.
Exactly. You run really quickly. But then to me, it's not about, yay, this person's running all over the place. It's about the message. So you know where your camera person is. Like for the Raptors, I ran quickly turn to the camera.
Yep.
Get your banner up, because they'll be at you really quickly.
Yeah.
You know, within seconds, you get tackled. So it's really important. And your message has to be big enough to be read. So you have to make a really big banner. Don't just do single line marker, you know, do it really thick. Yeah, because it's all about getting the message. I mean, it's dramatic and it's, you know, adrenaline rush.
Right.
But it's for the animals. Damn it. And if your message doesn't get out there, then what's the point? You know, you get arrested, you get into legal trouble, and you haven't got your message out. So that has to be your priority.
Yeah. I know. Such great advice. How do you maybe calm your nerves, like right before you're about to run, or like what can help somebody that is maybe afraid to take one of these actions? And why is it important to?
I don't know. How do I calm myself? I don't know. Just you're thinking about so many variables before you do it. And I think that really helps, because you're thinking about, okay, you need to get in undetected. You need to have the placement of your banner. You need to choose the right moment. You need to look relaxed. You basically need to look relaxed anyway. So maybe, you know, breathing a little bit deeply, making sure your breathing would be a thing. But enjoy where you're at, because a lot of times I've been into venues where it's like, it'll be the only time I've been into a venue. It's like, wow, look at the surroundings, enjoy it, you know, laugh a little. Because if you're looking nervous, you might come to the attention of security, and you know, you need to just look part of the crowd.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think that this is really, really good advice. What was it like the first time going to jail? Like, do you have any stories from being in a cell?
Yeah, being in a cell is not fun at all. You lose, you have no like watch, you have no phone, there's likely no windows, and you could be in there for hours, and there's pretty much no vegan food. You know, last time I'm like, I'm vegan. Do you have anything? Oh, cheese sandwich. Just like, come on. So you basically have to realize that you're not going to eat. You're likely not going to drink for a while. If there is a washroom, it could be within the cell, and then there's a window that they could look through at you using the washroom. So there's all that stuff. And then you can be in a holding cell for hours, and then you can have people with mental issues like right next to you, screaming. Yeah. So the last time I was in a holding cell, it was quite a few hours, and there was guys next to me, like screaming at each other, trying to console each other. And I'm thinking, well, as a woman, I don't think I'm going to say a peep, because you just don't want, guys in a holding cell knowing that there's a woman next to you. You just so. And then there's stuff on the walls as well. I mean, last time there was like something racist on the walls, that people are kind of scratching in. So I took a little while to kind of scratch out and amend the messages, but I mean, you've got nothing to. It's an interesting experience.
I mean, it's amazing how a peaceful person who is just trying to speak up for the most vulnerable beings on the planet, who's just trying to spread compassion and love, ends up in a place where you're next to people that are murderers and rapists.
Yeah.
So when you have to then go to trial after, are you nervous for your future trials that you're facing?
Well, I'm a little nervous this time because it's a different charge. It's like I've had a previous court judgment and conditions, and then these two last actions, I broke the conditions that the judge gave last time. So, I mean, I'm not nervous about going into a custodial sentence if that is the result. If that gets more awareness for the animals, then that's fine. But the fact that they could fine you money is like outrageous, honestly.
How do you keep yourself clear-headed? Are there certain exercises or practices that you do daily? And also with seeing all the suffering and going to slaughterhouses, what helps you?
Oh, I kind of just even walk the neighborhood and take in, I don't know, flowers, little wild animals. Yeah, I mean, you can kind of get respite in whatever situation you're in.
Yeah.
You don't need to go away and go to like a yoga weekend or something. Just take in the little details around you. Take a camera with you, take your phone with you, and start taking photographs and enjoying taking nature photographs, listen to music, TV, watch telly, normal stuff, really, honestly. Yeah.
It's hard to then go back into the normal world. I always feel that things somehow flip towards animal rights. Like even if I'm on a walk,
yeah, for sure.
I'm like, I see a bird or like I see a great big space where I'm like, ooh, that would be a good place to put up a poster.
Yes. Well, you know what? That's the thing. You do. Like when I'm organized, take stickers with you.
Yeah.
Take a bit of chalk with you. And then you do see those opportunities. And then you are like stickering and postering. And honestly, I travel everywhere with cards. Business cards without my name on, so they're just outreach cards. But then if I see, like parents with kids, I'm like, oh, this is kid friendly.
Yeah.
Or someone walking a dog, then it's like, oh, you're an animal lover. So there's so many opportunities. I mean, you're still relaxing.
Yeah. And you have documentaries on the back of there.
Yeah.
And you made them yourself.
Yeah, they're so cheap to do when you're doing business cards. So I just order a few thousand at a time, basically, and hopefully, other activists, I'm happy to send them out to people.
David uses them all the time.
Yeah. And I'm always happy to take criticism and edit them. And like there's just new versions come out all the time.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel that sometimes like it's hard to picture who you would be without the animal rights angle? Like, who is Jenny? I feel like it becomes a big part of our identity.
Well, even like I've been an activist now for like 20-something years, but I still did have a career. I was into, I don't know, what was it, like architectural type stuff and graphic design type stuff.
Wow.
So I when I came to Canada, I then got a job in government, and I had a decent job in government too.
Really?
Yeah, and it was funny. In the UK, I'd be making like props. I remember making a prop. We were doing a demo at McDonald's, and I wanted like a veal and like a big cardboard thing, and I was like splashing red paint at work because we had a design studio there. It's like, but and you can still do activism while you're working a job, or obviously you need to pay for your life and stuff. But I don't think people should feel as though, oh, I need a career or I can be an animal rights activist. The two would just blend in whatever you're doing. You can be upfront with people. I would go to demos actually at lunchtime. I think, was this in Toronto? And I went to a demo and I was like a rabbit in a costume, like I'm sweating buckets. But I go back to work and I'm like, oh my God, my hair's a bit like, wet from...
I love it.
So
iconic. You can... But did you ever worry that your position in government would somehow be affected in a bad way with the activism you were doing, or it was completely separate?
Yeah, it was kind of separate. I'd keep the more extreme stuff. I just wouldn't mention it. But I think, I kind of took semi-retirement, and then potentially that's when the more extreme activism kind of kicked in. Because yes, I mean, if you're young and you want a good career path, then you wouldn't perhaps do the activism that gets you arrested. You'd pick and choose as to what works for you.
Right.
And as well, if your immigration status is not settled, then again, you choose not to get arrested, not to do the more traumatic. Yeah, you have to be careful about your own status.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
I think that that's super important is, picking and choosing and knowing that, like, you can have a big impact, just outreaching people on the street.
Of course.
Doing AV, We the Free, whatever it is.
Yeah, of course. And I love doing those outreach.
So what's your advice on, like, dealing maybe if there's, like, infighting in the community? How do you handle that?
Oh, that's one of the worst things, honestly, because you can take negativity from the public, but when it's from your own people, it really hits hard. So I try never criticizing anyone I believe in human rights, obviously. Like, seriously. And I always say to people, you can care about one, more than one thing at a time.
Yes.
So absolutely, you've got human rights, you're campaigning for human rights, but try not to target people who are not speaking up that way. Why can't we just have mutual respect for each other? No matter whether you're like a seasoned activist or a new activist, I'd love it when people are new activists or new vegans. I'm like, yay. What's the point of fighting each other? Honestly, there's not that many of us, honestly. When we like to think that we're a big, strong movement, and we are in a lot of ways. But certainly when you look at marches for human rights, for an example, of the women's rights after one of the elections in the US, massive. Mm-hmm. And we just don't see that for animals. So try and have respect for each other. And maybe that's where social media is an issue, where we just feel as though we can attack and use really, really insulting language at each other. Like, why are we doing that? Mm-hmm. I see it more and more, and it's really disturbing. Mm-hmm. I try not to get involved in that, and when I do, it's like you really can't say the right thing because you're going to upset someone. Whatever you
And publicly shaming another activist or vegan, it makes us look like maniacs. It makes like if a non-vegan came across one of the pages and saw some of the things being said, why would that in any way, shape, or form incline them to want to be vegan? Like, they would just look at this and be like, these people are out of control. Like, I don't want anything to do with this. And then if you like shame somebody publicly, like, then you're maybe scaring them away from continuing to fight for the animals.
Yeah. And I mean, we're not saying that there should never be any criticism, obviously.
No.
And sometimes it's appropriate to call out rather than call in and do it privately. And I believe in, if you are called out, I believe in defending yourself, but not like making the other person into an enemy, and not victimizing yourself either. Because honestly, you know, it's the humans who are having oppression. We're sitting on a couch in Canada, totally privileged. So there's so many real victims in this world, whether it be human or whether it be animals, that, yeah, try not to victimize yourself.
Yeah.
You know, stand up for yourself, put your position out there, but then try and let it go. Just let it go.
Let go. Yeah, we're at war here, and we have to realize that we're on the same team, and we're so much stronger together. And really, like, where is our energy super useful and impactful?
Yeah.
And I mean, like, where can we have the biggest change for the animals? And instead of like being like, you should have done this way, like, why didn't you put the damn poster up higher, or like whatever the fuck by saying, I'm like, first of all, you do it the way you want to do it.
Exactly.
And you see that. I'm trying my best out here. At least I'm out here trying to do something.
Yes.
And if you have criticism, speak to me about it. Like, let's go through this.
Yeah.
But then, like, honestly, if we want to have the biggest impact and change for the animals, like, let's come together and let's like focus on the targets and be strategic about things. And instead of like instead of like focusing in on like one tiny little thing that, okay, like it's in the past, let's move on.
Right. Like, come on. If you don't like some form of activism, it doesn't matter. Organize your own.
Right.
I never mind, honestly, people saying, oh, I'm leaving, or I'm splitting off, or, you know, this organization is doing it the wrong way. Whatever. Go off, start organizing. I love seeing creativity.
Me too.
Yeah. Just leave them alone who you think they're doing the wrong job. There's space for everyone and so many methods. Yeah.
It's hard. Humans are a little bit egocentric sometimes. And there's jealousy. There's, you know, sometimes people date one another and then things go wrong. I mean, who knows? But I think really remembering who the victims are. And every day, how can we change the world for the better for them? And it's certainly not fighting each other.
Right.
Yeah. So what is next for you? I mean, what are things that you are excited about, things that you want to plan?
Right. Well, when you say excited about, pressure campaigns are always something that I want to, you know, work on in a better way. So the fur has always been something that I really, you know, campaign strongly for. Single issue. It's a gateway. But fur farming, we're going to try and, you know, work closely, like Real Fur Film. Give a plug.
Yeah.
Fur Free Friday is a thing. Doesn't have to be a day though. Like that's one thing. When you try and make things happen on one day, come on. I mean, the rest of the year. So working properly on that. Working to get rib fests sort of thing.
Oh,
It's like a scourge. Organized. One of the organizations is the Rotary Club. It's like, come on, you have an environmental policy. What are you doing organizing these nightmare rib fests? So yeah, there's a few projects I'd like to. And it's tough, you know, like concentrating in on something, because I also want to support other activism too, like We the Free, I adore. Anonymous for the Voiceless. I'm sure I'm forgetting a ton, but honestly, in Toronto, it's really great. There's so much activism happening, and there's an animal rights centre, Wishbone Animal Rights Centre. So I love supporting others who are doing activism and new organisers who are coming up and doing their own thing as well. Yeah.
I think that's great. Yeah. And you're trying out different things. And that's what's beautiful about activism is like, there's so many different routes you can take. We don't know what the right answer is. If we did, we would have seen a vegan world by now. So trying out different things, but also making sure you're taking care of yourself. We don't want to burn out. And being that you've been in this movement for over 30 years,
right?
You know, I are just one of the strongest activists I know. I feel like you're doing more bold things every time I see you.
Well, I believe in taking opportunities.
Yeah.
Honestly. I mean, sometimes you don't know that you're going to do something even the day before.
Yeah.
Something opens up. And then, you know, for the recent thing, I was gifted some tickets and like, oh, how can you use this opportunity? What can you do? And what is the biggest impact? So straight away, turn something into an animal rights opportunity.
Yeah.
And then just go for it. And maybe, you know, I think this year has been a bit tough, like legally. So I think for myself, I've got criminal trials on the go, 2 different ones now. But I think focusing in on all the different forms of activism, like I still love, you know, like giving out leaflets. I still love the gentle forms of activism, like, you know.
What's something that you say to somebody when you see them wearing fur on the street?
Oh, I have a whole thing. First of all, it's like, oh, did you know you're wearing real fur? There's quite a few different questions. And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. And sometimes I can have a reasonable conversation with them, because I've kind of turned it into being able to have that reasonable conversation. I mean, it's difficult to kind of swallow the anger when you see and when you know that is an animal who suffered incredibly. Even, you know, bobble on a hat. Amazon is still selling them, you know, like a knitted type hat, and then you've got a bobble, and it's a fur Asiatic raccoon dog, oftentimes. So yeah, I'll sometimes walk along with them, and sometimes it's a reasonable conversation, and I'm telling them that this is how I know it's real fur, and this is what the animal is, and this is how they died. Other times, it's a shouting match, which I'm still comfortable doing, obviously, you know, especially if there's a younger person and they're wearing real fur, like a coat. It's just like, come on. You can understand, you know, like an 80-year-old wearing real fur and just kind of not getting it. But seriously, when the person is like, you know, younger than what, 50, 40, 30, it's like, come on, there's no excuse, shame on you. And I'm fine with screaming that along with people and videoing as I'm doing it, because I think shaming is still totally valid when it comes to, I mean, and in a way, winter activism and fur activism is something that is, you can really get involved with, because it's out there on the streets, and then it also enables you to do vegan activism. I mean, in the winter, I also carry fur business cards as well. So I always have a vegan message on. Animals do not want to die for their fur, skin, flesh, or fluids. Make the switch to vegan. Try challenge22.com. But then as well, you know, the rest of the card, we have a call to action. We have Zip Off the Cruelty, which is where we take the fur and we donate it to a wildlife sanctuary. Or we have got it down to PETA in the US.
Great.
So, yeah, you can have that conversation. You can say, well, zip it off. Actually, I've now got into the habit where I know pretty much sometimes where the zips start. And I'm like, oh, let me show you. And I'm reaching across and taking the zip. And by the time they realize what I'm doing, I've got the fur kind of half zipped off. And then I'll take the whole thing off and then I'll have it in front of them and I'll say, this is how you know it's real. And at that point...
How can you tell when it's real?
Oh, you look at the ends of each strand, and if it's pointed at the end, then you know it's real fur.
Really?
Yeah, because the manufacturing process of individual strands of fake fur, it's always cut at the end. Because they don't have that manufacturing process to be able to make it into a point. So that's a surefire way of knowing it's real fur. I find it doesn't work when people say, oh, just part the fur and you can see skin. It all looks very similar when you... even the way it moves in the breeze now. Honestly, some of the fake furs move that way too. But yeah.
Wow, I think it's so powerful. And I think that you're right. Shaming can sometimes be effective because that person's going to go home and they're going to be like uncomfortable wearing it.
Yeah.
And I do believe that like socially, we can make it unacceptable for people to want to go out and wear these
Exactly.
things.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, it's unfortunate that you have to get to that.
I know.
But whatever, if more people, please, if more people were to do that, the best thing I can hear is when someone said, oh my God, someone already shouted at me for this. And I'm like, yay, more activists doing it. Like, seriously, get on the ball. Yeah.
Get on the ball. It's a good way. I think with fur, it's also like, it's a winnable battle. Like, we're starting to see the fur industry, the sales decline, it's collapsing. It's something where we need to be strategic as activists.
Right. And we need to keep up the pressure because, leave it alone. And then who knows, you've still got an industry who wants to make serious bucks from animals being caged and killed in horrific ways. And different countries as well. I mean, we've got a fur industry in Canada. And there's fur industries in other countries that still want to operate. So you have to keep at it.
It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
From the disease aspect of it, from the environmental toll.
For sure.
The animal cruelty. Like, you literally look like you walked out of the Natural History Museum.
Right.
Why do you want to look like that?
Yeah.
Chewbacca? Like, that's what you want to look like?
Wow. Yeah.
From Star Wars. It is so just despicable. And listen, in order for us to create a more peaceful world in any aspect, it starts with treating the most vulnerable.
Right.
Kindly.
Yeah.
It starts with the isms. And the first ism we're taught is that we should love one animal and eat another. And so when you break out of that social conditioning, your whole world changes.
For sure.
Changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Today has been such a long day. It has been such an amazing day spending time with you, for postering, for doing the badass things that you do. And so why don't you just share any final thoughts that you have just in activism, veganism, something you've learned, and people where they can find you as well.
Instagram, Jenny Vegan Mcqueen. I'm on quite a few platforms like TikTok, I don't know, VegGen. But I always use my real name, Jenny Mcqueen, so you can basically find me on YouTube and all that kind of stuff. But just in forms of activism, just do what comes naturally. Just do what you feel comfortable doing. You don't have to do the dramatic stuff. I feel comfortable with it. It doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. Honestly, if we knew exactly the right thing to do, then who knows where we'd be right now. But any form of activism, contact the big organizations like PETA for leaflets, Vegan Outreach down in the States, Mercy for Animals. All of the big organizations would love to have you volunteer. And if you don't feel comfortable doing activism, send some money, do a little monthly donation. Animal sanctuaries would love to have your support. They're all struggling. I mean, that's another form of activism I feel strongly about, monthly donations. I do.
Yeah.
You know, I send $5, collective activism. It's so valid.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah.
It enables people like you and me to be able to do what we do.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So some activists take Patreon.
Yeah.
Too. I mean, I just never wanted to do that. But I totally believe in activists like receiving money, and if you can get a career in animal rights, there's lawyer. You can be a lawyer now.
Yes.
Like, come on, you can be an animal rights lawyer. It's like it's all these careers that you can take on.
Yeah, we need it.
Yeah.
Jenny needs it.
Oh.
Please, if you are interested in helping in any way. But this has been so informative, and just being able to talk through some of the things that go through your head right before an action, and realizing like we are individuals at the end of the day. Like we are human beings, and like we are learning as we go. We're trying things out, and if we can do it, anybody can. So thank you for your service.
Thank you. I mean, I love your presence on, you know, all the activism you do as well. I mean, you do the serious stuff, you do the fun stuff. You've managed to find a balance. I just keep at it.
Absolutely. Until every cage is empty.
Yeah.
That's right. So guys, you know where to find me. I'm at It's Jamie's Corner. And thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, comment below, like it, rate it, subscribe. That would be really cool. And until next time, I'll see you around. Okay, bye. Bye.